Hello. This episode has been brought to you by me and my business, Lauren Grace Inspirations. I am a channel of the light and work with spirit guides, angels, the higher self, and past over loved ones to provide you with support, clarity, and encouragement. Using oracle cards, mediumship, and clairvoyance, my readings will leave you feeling comforted and empowered. I have various reading options available, ranging from 30-minute readings to 60-minute readings to group sessions. I also work with professionals to help them gain clarity in business and life purpose. To book a reading with me, simply head to laurengraceinspirations.com. Hello, and welcome to the show. Lauren Grace here. I am live on Instagram. I'm also live over on Facebook and also on YouTube. So thank you so much for joining me. This is a new time. I'm practicing a new time. I'm going to see whether or not that works with you and your schedule. And my intention for this particular new slot is to also invite in some business questions, some business Q&A, some spiritual questions as well, and do some readings. So we will see sort of what this time slot allows us to do. I am always wanting to see whether or not we've got listeners in different countries. So please let me know where you are from. Welcome. And we will get the show going. So I wanted to jump on here today for a couple of reasons. Number one, I love doing my live readings, and I haven't been doing them lately. And one of the reasons why I haven't been doing my live readings lately is honestly because I'm deciding to grow my hair out and go natural. And there's a bit of a transition period that's sort of happening there. And I will say that I was feeling a little bit nervous about it, and I feel comfortable now. So that's actually one of the reasons why. And also I was really experimenting with different times, and I noticed that the evening times here in Australia was really affecting my ability to be able to connect with people in different countries as well. So I really wanted to just kind of explore a little bit to see whether or not this new time slot's going to work. And so that's what we're doing here today. So again, my name is Lauren Grace. I'm a business and life mentor. I'm also a medium and a seer. And so what I'm going to be doing at the moment is I'm going to be doing a general card reading. So if you are listening to this right now, no matter where you are and no matter what time you're listening to this, because it's possible that this will be shared again on the podcast, this card reading is going to be for you. Now, one of the things I'm also doing is I'm asking, Spirit just chucked out this card, so we'll see what it is in just a second here. But I'd like to invite you as well to ask me any questions about your spiritual development, ask any questions about your business, anything like that. Hi, Lucille, welcome. And one of the things that I'm going to be working on as well in these sessions is maybe bringing in a little bit of the business know-how as well as the spiritual know-how as well, because one of the things that I'm really interested in is sort of the fusion of spirituality with business. And I find that I work with a lot of soul-led entrepreneurs who are really wanting to move their business forward so that they can make a bigger impact in the world. And I think one of the cool things is that when we can actually combine a lot of the spiritual tips and tricks and practices that we learn about and that we can integrate into our lives, that actually really will affect our business as well. So that's why I'm really passionate about combining those two ideas together. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a one card reading right now. If you've got any questions or you want me to do a little reading for you, please do let me know. I also have some questions that were already submitted to me, so I'm going to be answering those on this call as well. So hopefully there'll be some value for you in this. Okay. So the card today, so this is a card if, again, no matter where in time you're tuning in, this card is going to be for you. This is a card called Spill the Tea. And so I am on Instagram as well as on Facebook. So I'm going to be showing the card sort of around here. Okay, there we go. And this is from the Human Spirit Oracle, which I love this deck. It's one of my new decks. And so what we've got is Spill the Tea. And this is card number 43. So when we get a 43, that's 4 plus 3 is a 7. 7 is connection to the crown chakra, which is funny because I was already working with that today. It's connection with the crown chakra, but it's also about connection with our higher purpose, and it's connection with the spirit realms. So when we're really seeing the number 7, that's a lot about the color purple. It's a lot about the crown chakra, and it's a lot about connecting with your higher awareness. Now, one of the really cool things that I love about working with the higher awareness is that we're really aligning ourselves with what we came here to do. So I believe that we have a purpose of what we came here to do. Your purpose may look different based on who you are and what you feel innately within yourself. And a big part about when we get that 777, or when we get the indication of working with the crown chakra, a big part about that is really connecting to the spirit realm, is really connecting with our higher self, really connecting with our higher awareness. Now, this says spill the tea here. And it's funny because we have this woman and she's got these teacups that are sort of staggered on top of her head. And I'll just show you this again. And one of the things that we see is that she is actually a teapot. So one of her arms is the handle of the tea, and the other one is the tea spout. There's also teacups within her body, sort of in her chest area. And the word on it, as I said before, is called spill the tea. So what this card means to me in today's context, and it's always funny because when I read cards with different cards, they have different meanings, or depending on, the information that's coming through, it may slightly change. But this is a lot about not being afraid to be who you are and not being afraid to upset some people. And sometimes we have to spill the tea a little bit to get where we need to go, right? And one of the things that I really wanted to talk about sort of off the top here, and I'm going to be talking about it in just a second, is the concept and the idea about how when we know what we don't want, we get to find out what we do want. And I think that spill the tea is a pretty apropos card to really start off that particular conversation. Because when we see a card that's talking about us really not being afraid to ruffle some feathers, not being afraid to sort of step outside the norm, not being afraid to really be who we are authentically, what that allows us to do is allows us to come here and do what we came to do. And I think that a lot of the time what we spend doing is being small or acting in the way that other people want us to act, or being somebody other than ourselves. And we can really get sort of caught up in that. We can get caught up in the idea of, well, how does so-and-so want me to respond? Or how am I supposed to act in this situation? Instead of just saying, you know what, I'm just going to authentically be who I am. And I'm going to be okay with that. And I will tell you that I sometimes have challenges with this myself, where I feel that I'm an outspoken person. I feel that I have strong ideas about things. I feel that some of my ideas are a little bit left to center for sure. And that when I express my ideas, sometimes, I feel a little bit like, oh no, did I say the right thing for that person? Did I say it in the way that, they wanted to hear it? And I feel sometimes a little bit scared and a little bit nervous about being my authentic self too. But the fact of the matter is that as we learn, we grow. When we know better, we do better. And sometimes we have to be okay with not worrying about being perfect or not having these sort of inflated ideas for ourselves. And I think a big part about that is about that we maybe fear about being good enough, about being accepted. And I think that, this card is just really perfect for what we're going to talk about in a minute, which is about discerning information, deciphering information, and also understanding that we're doing the best we can. And when we know better, we do better. And that is how we evolve and grow. And so the card today, the message, I know you're like, wow, this is the longest reading ever, but the message for you today is really a lot about where are you showing up authentically in your life? And can you bring that authenticness, if that's a word, into other things that you're doing? Where can you show up in integrity and in alignment in all the places in your life? And I think a big part about it is going slow. If you've been playing a certain role, let's say at work, or you've been maybe playing a certain role with your friends, and you're kind of ready to almost grow out of that role. Maybe you are, maybe wanting to give out alcohol, so your friends are going to change. Or maybe you're wanting to explore different ideas, and so your friends are going to change. Or maybe you want to be seen as something other than the way you're currently being seen at work. The recommendation is really about doing small little steps. It's about being clear about, what your purpose is, what your why statement and what your values are. And even if you don't resonate with the idea of, I don't know what my purpose is, it's like, okay, let's just move that along for a second. What about what's important to you? What is important to you, right away? What's the word that comes up? Is it trust? Is it family? Is it relationships? Is it peace? Is it wealth? Is it security? Is it, what is it for you? And when you can be really aware of the things that matter to you, then you can start to show up even more authentically, step by step by step, as you go about your day. All right, so that's the card of the day. So now I want to talk about the idea of when we know what we don't want, we know what we do want. And this is an idea that is, for me, one of the keys, I think, about being here on the planet as a human, in a soul. I believe, and I learned a lot of this teaching from Abraham Hicks's teaching, Esther Hicks, and she channels an entity called Abraham, and I really resonate with her teachings, and they feel truthful to me. It's always important to remember that whenever you're hearing or reading from someone, or you're hearing like these spiritual ideas or just any ideas at all, that you really run it through your own filter, remembering that the road ahead is yours to shape. Okay. The journey ahead is yours to shape. So when I'm listening to these ideas about the idea, when we know what we don't want, we know what we do want. I love that, because it allows me to really reframe when things aren't working the way that we think that they are supposed to, or when things are difficult or challenges come. It allows us to really get clear with ourselves and go, okay, so this challenge has come. So this situation has come and I don't like it. That's all right. Now that we know what you don't want, now we know what we do want instead. And I think that it's important for us to be really intentional when these things happen in our lives, where we can give ourselves a minute to reflect on that, where we can go, okay, I don't like the way that person spoke with me. Now what I want to do is I want to attract more people who are going to speak to me like this. And maybe we say nicer, or maybe make me feel better, for example. So one of the things that I do is I always put out the intention that I attract those in harmony with me, physical and non-physical. And the reason that I do that is because I know that when I'm, working or collaborating with people that are, of a similar mindset, or at least open-minded, that it really allows me to be me in a more authentic way. I'm just gonna have a little drink. So if we kind of assume the idea, or work with the idea that we're here on Earth and we are detectives, and we are essentially going through and we're figuring out the things that we like. It's almost that we're following these little clues, and these clues show up to us through our emotions. These clues show up to us through the company that we keep, the opportunities that are extended to us or not, the life that we're currently living. And when we can get clear and remember that we are these powerful beings that are really bringing forth the kind of life that we want, we are reminded, wait a minute, I can actually do something about this situation, or I can actually choose a better thought, or I can actually decide to go left today instead of right, for example. When we remember that we are in the driver's seat of what we are doing and what we came here to do, and we remember that when challenges come or situations arise, that these are opportunities for us to go, yes, that's what I want, or no, that's not what I want, that it kind of makes it a little bit more interesting and a little bit more fun. Now, I don't know if you are like this, but one of the things that I am working on is sometimes when things don't work out the way that I had intended or planned, sometimes I get a little bit disheartened for a second, right? Where I go, oh, I really wish I'd acted in a different way. But really, what we're allowing ourselves to do here is we're allowing ourselves to try things on for size. We're allowing ourselves to maybe put ourselves out there and try new, maybe business endeavors or new avenues that we want to explore. And sometimes they're going to work out and sometimes they're not going to work out. And so when we know a little bit more about that, then we can go, okay, well, that didn't work out, so I want this instead. Or in the future, this is what I want to do instead. And it's kind of lightens everything up. It makes it a little bit more fun and a little bit more playful. So I'd love to know if that resonates at all with you. Please do let me know in the chat. And all right. Oh, thank you. And I've got the Trippy Kiwi on Instagram, and you would like a little reading. So thank you for listening to that little message. And all right, I'll do a little reading for you. And then just reminder as well that I am answering spiritual questions today, as well as business questions. And I'll do a little reading for you, Trippy Kiwi. So let's see what we can get for you. So I'm just going to take a moment and connect with your energy. I'm just looking, listening, and feeling. Okay, so the minute I'm connecting with your energy, I actually feel really nauseous. So I'm not sure whether or not there's something going on in the digestive area here for you, but I'm actually feeling really a little bit sick to my stomach. So if that's something that really resonates with you, again, remember the journey ahead is yours to shape. So just run everything that I'm talking about through your own filter. My aim here is always just to be supportive. That, just maybe pay attention to some of the things that you may be eating, okay? Because I actually feel quite a little bit of nausea, a little bit sick about that. So that's really affecting me here in the solar plexus area, as you would know. That's where the stomach area is. Now, when we're also connecting with the solar plexus area in the middle, that's the yellow chakra. And that one is all about courage and it's all about bravery. All right. So it could be as well that there maybe is a situation that you're wanting to be brave about or step into your power a little bit more, be a little bit more maybe courageous. And sometimes we get a little bit of that nausea when we're maybe feeling nervous about that, or maybe acting in a way that's really not moving ourselves forward. So I'm not sure if you heard the card off the top that was talking a lot about spilling the tea and kind of not being afraid to ruffle a few feathers. One of the things that Spirit is always reminding us is that we don't have to hurry up and do everything right now. We don't have to run when we can walk. We can actually take a bit of time and do things in a comfortable way. One of the things that I always remember for myself is that when I'm making decisions or I am wanting to maybe try something new, that I do little bite-sized pieces instead, right? So I go, okay, well, if I want to get to here, what are some of the small steps that I need to take? And then slowly and surely kind of making those decisions and those steps as I navigate towards my goal. So for you, if you are wanting to really step into something that's maybe going to be a little bit take some bravery, take some courage, then one of the things that you really want to remember is that you don't have to kind of run to the end. You can really do this in small little areas. I get that. Spirit is really talking about understanding that sometimes voicing our truth can be done in casual ways. And then when we kind of are prepared, then we can almost like voice our truth in other situations. So for example, I know sometimes, when we go to let's say the coffee shop, let's use this as an example. We go to the coffee shop and we order a chai latte with regular milk, okay? And we get a normal latte with regular milk. Now, some people may go, oh, I'll just drink it anyway. It doesn't matter. I still like lattes. Well, some people might go, I like lattes, but I really wanted a chai latte today. And this is my special treat for myself. So I'm actually going to go up and say something. So that might be an example where you could say, hey, obviously you can do this with kindness and respect. You don't have to berate anybody. You can just say, hey, I think I was given the wrong beverage. And they might go, oh yeah, your drink's here. That was for somebody else, right? So that's just a small example of where we can start to show up authentically in our lives and where we can start to voice our truth and say the things that we need to say, but in a way that's kind of maybe still could feel a little bit nerve-wracking, but at the same time really gives us an opportunity to practice. One of the things that Spirit is talking about as well is the idea of having healthy boundaries. So sometimes what we do as well, I feel like when we're drawn to the solar plexus area, that's a lot about power, that's a lot about courage, that's a lot about moving forward. Okay, I'll write that down. So when we are, they want to talk, I'll tell you that in a second. So when we are, practicing these little ways of moving ourselves forward, it also helps us with our boundaries, because we're going, you know what, I'm investing in this latte, for example, and this is probably not the best example, but I wanted to do something that you may resonate with, or at least, that would make the most sense. So when we can go, you know what, I actually am going to stand up for myself. I'm going to be brave. I'm going to say, no, that's not what I asked for. This is what I asked for. It allows us to do that in our life in casual ways as well, because eventually over time, all of our small decisions lead to big decisions and lead to big changes, right? Small steps lead to big changes. It's kind of the idea of, when you go and you work out, you don't just go to the gym one time and think you're going to see some awesome result. You have to keep on going. That's the same with setting boundaries, and that's the same with being authentic and speaking your truth. One of the things Spirit wants to talk to you about as well is about being creative, creating a little bit more, bringing in some new ideas and some new inspiration. So the word that they're telling me is they're saying creativity. When they're doing that, I do want to talk about paints. I do want to talk about abstract art. I get that. One of the things that they're also mentioning, and this is also a note to self for myself, because I wanted to start this as well, is that there's numerous art challenges all across the internet. You can just Google literally art challenges on Instagram or just on Google, and there'll be pages of different art challenges that you can do for yourself with a new prompt every single day. And maybe looking for a creative outlet and using something like an art challenge to start. You could always start that on December 1, which is coming up pretty soon. That might be a really good opportunity for you to slowly grow in your authenticity and your integrity as well, because you can really start to express how you're feeling about things, but you can express how you're feeling about things in a way that is a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more safe. So I'm just going to see if any of that is resonating with you. Oh, yay. Hey, awesome. Okay. Hey, girl. Okay, so you're saying that's so true. So that's awesome. Okay, so I'm just going to pull a couple more cards for you, and then we'll see what we got. All righty. I'll just pull a card for you and then get to some of the questions I've been asked today. Okay, eye to eye. So we've got the eye to eye card here. So this is card number 23, and 2 + 3 is a 5, and 5 is the number of change. So 5 is the number of change. For me, I always look at 5 as well as an opportunity to really get clear with our foundation. So 5 is a lot about kind of mid-cycle. It's almost like we're not at the beginning, we're not at the end. We're kind of like going through the journey. But then at the same time, because we have the indication that there's a change coming, it's sort of like preparing ourselves for the transformation that may be coming. So this is an opportunity for you to look at who you want to become. And again, it goes back to everything we've been talking about taking those creative changes, about stepping into your bravery, speaking your truth, and becoming a little bit more authentic with yourself. Now, when we see here eye to eye, number one, we've got a lot of yellow, which we know is the solar plexus chakra, which I was talking about earlier. We also have a big butterfly, kind of looks a little bit like a moth, but it's a butterfly still form. And that's really talking a lot about transformation as well. Whenever I see a butterfly, it's all about who am I transforming myself into? We also see this woman, and she's sitting at a table and she's playing chess, and she's the black team. And then there's the white team that's kind of in front of her. So when I see black and white, for me, this could be duality sometimes, but it's also about balance. It's also about the yin and the yang, and being really aware that it's not always doing all the time. Sometimes it's also receiving. All right. Now, because we have the eye to eye word here on this card, and we see a lot of eyes, this is all about intuition. So this is all about you going within and you trusting your own intuition. And sometimes we forget, we're like, what does my intuition look like? Well, your intuition is your gut instinct in general, right? It's what's your first impression of something. It's, I really feel like I need to go onto Instagram right now on the one time that I'm doing a reading at a completely random time that I never, said that I was going to do until about an hour and a half ago, right? So it's listening to our intuition in those moments. One of the things as well that we're talking about off the top here is when we are being authentic, when we are stepping into our integrity, we give ourselves an opportunity to strengthen our intuition. And when we strengthen our intuition, we make better decisions, right? We listen to our feelings and our emotions. We trust ourselves to make that decision. There's a thing called clear cognizance, which they're wanting me to talk about for you. So this may resonate with you as one of your psychic abilities. Clear cognizance is sometimes we just know stuff, right? Sometimes we just know things to be true, and we don't always have the words to necessarily justify why things are the way they are. We just trust that they are. We just know it to be a certain thing. As we grow in authenticity and integrity with ourselves, what we do is we allow ourselves to grow in our intuition, and we become a little bit more comfortable and stable in making decisions, even when we don't have the words necessarily to explain why we're doing that. Just going to see if that resonates with you. Oh, that's funny. And I'm just reading some of your comments. You're just saying that you ate something yesterday. So that might've been why you weren't feeling so good. And yeah, it seems to me like you're connecting with this reading. Okay, awesome. Well, I hope that was helpful for you. And yeah, let me know how things work out. All right. And Lucille, you want a reading as well? Okay, I'll do a little card reading for you. And then I'm also going to answer some questions that I have here about business and also spirit. And one of the things I do want to let you know is that I have a program called the Enlightened Efficiency Program. And it's basically monthly coaching I don't call myself a coach, monthly workshop mentoring with me on your business. And it's also full of productivity courses, including how to use ChatGPT and including my famous powerful productivity time management course, as well as hundreds of dollars worth of bonuses. So that can all be found in the links here, or you can just go to the link in my bio if you're watching on Instagram. Okay, so Lucille, I'm just going to connect with your energy. Not automatically drawn to the throat right away. It's like I went Lucille, boom, throat, right away. So when I was feeling my throat, it was like a lot of pressure around my throat. I'm just feeling into that for a second. I'm also feeling like quite a lot of emotion. I'm feeling a little bit of blockages going on here. Okay, so Stuart Wilde, W-I-L-D-E, he's one of the spiritual teachers that I listen to. I absolutely adore him. He's amazing. And one of the techniques that I learned from him is when we've got some stuff that are blocked around our heart, for example, that what we can do is we can actually take our fist, and not hard, and we can kind of like almost like tap our sternum area to kind of dislodge some of that. So if that feels comfortable to you, I would recommend you go ahead and you do something like that, just kind of moving a little bit of that stagnant energy. If we kind of remember that I get that. Okay, so if we're like a pond of water, let's just say, and there's no breeze or there's no, kind of movement or momentum, sometimes things just sort of stay where they are, right? We really want to shake things up a little bit. So that's like a physical way of doing that. For you, drawn to the throat automatically, but I really want to talk about the heart space. I really want to talk about the color green. And I also really want to talk about the color gold, actually, which is really cool. So I feel like maybe I'm seeing your aura. So it's like gold and green, which is just so beautiful. Green is about heart, but it's about growth. And gold is just such a high frequency color that it's sort of just like, it's just really showing how beautiful and pure your light is. That's really what I'm getting here. Again, remember that everything that I'm going to share with you in your reading, you just want to run it through your own filter, make sure it sits well with you. And the journey ahead is yours to shape. Okay, so let's pull a couple of cards for you as well. And let's see what we get. Okay, I'm just writing down a couple of things. So they really want to talk about frog energy. So working with a frog, like as a potentially, yes. So working with a frog is like a power animal or a spirit animal, depending on what you want to call it that. Now, when I see frog energy, frogs are just like so beautiful. I love how they're really connected to the water. I love that frogs also have an opportunity to change color, and they're sort of like a chameleon. So I really feel like, when I'm getting a frog for you, I'm getting a frog that's like multicolored and like really beautiful and not afraid to kind of stand out. So it's a really interesting thing. So when I'm connecting with this frog energy, I want to talk about the element of water. I want to bring it back to the intuition that we were talking about earlier when we were connecting with Haley. I also want to talk about the idea that when we with the water element, that's a lot about emotions. With frogs for me are, a lot about being able to kind of blend in with their environment as well. And I like that about it. It's almost like you're able to kind of understand who you need to be in different circumstances, different situations. I'm not sure whether or not you do any support work or you do any kind of caring or anything like that, but I'm really drawn to that industry for you. I'd love to know whether or not that resonates with you at all. I am hearing support worker. I am hearing, working in that kind of field, giving back to other people. Healer. I'm also getting, just like really caring person, really good at nurturing other people. So love to know whether or not, Lucille, that resonates with you. One of the things that we can do as well is connecting with the frog energy. I would really recommend that you just Google it, read some of the things that frogs are about. I don't work a lot with frogs, so I'm not really an expert on that particular energy. So that's why I'm being a little bit vague with all of that. But I think I get that. It's a lot about your own self-exploration within that as well. So have a little listen or a little Google and see what frog energy is all about for you. Take the things that resonate with you. You could also do a meditation in which you maybe go meet a guide and you can intend to meet with the frog energy. When we are working with animals, we are given the opportunity to be able to sometimes leverage off of their traits, off of their qualities. So for example, if you are wanting to be a little bit more of a maybe shapeshifter, if you are wanting to blend a little bit more in your environment, but then stand out when it's appropriate, if you are wanting to tap into a little bit more of your emotion and your intuition, then your frog energy can help you with that. And that's a lot about intention. All right, I'm going to pull a couple more cards for you. I'm also looking around to see if there's anything else sort of comes up here. Okay, so this is card number 36, and this is card number 36 is too many hats. So we've got a man here, and he's wearing a whole bunch of different hats. And this is sort of funny because it's really talking a lot about playing different roles. And when we talk about playing different roles, what do we need to do when we're playing with different roles? We need to sort of morph into who people need us to be, right? This is really bringing it back to the whole theme of today's show, which is when we know what we don't want, we know what we do want, and being authentic and, working within integrity in our own lives so that we can really further ourselves. Now, when we see this guy here, he's talking about too many hats. This is card number 36. 3 + 6 is a 9. 9 for me is end of cycle. It's like things are wrapping up. When we see too many hats, it's about trying to do too many things. Now, I will say in my program, of course, I do teach a lot about time management, laser focus, avoiding procrastination, all that kind of stuff. But if this isn't for you in terms of maybe a business thing, it could also be that maybe you are having a difficult time, or if it's not difficult, maybe it's something to just be aware of the different roles that you're playing and wanting to take on a lot of different things. So one of the things that Spirit's always recommending that we do is we just sort of check in with ourselves. We check in and we go, hey, does this feel good to me? Does this person's energy align with mine? Do I feel good when I'm doing this particular activity? And the more that we can connect with ourselves, the more that we can move ourselves in a direction that we'd like to go in. Okay. I'm going to pull another card for you as well here. So we've got the against the clock card. So this is card number 30. 3 + 0 is a 3. 3 is all about creativity. It's also about new ideas. Could be about pregnancy as well. We see against the clock here with this man, and he's standing really strong with a lot of different clocks all around him. I love that. When we get this card, sometimes we feel like we're running out of time, that we may have goals that we want to achieve and we're not going to make it there when we're expecting to. This is a lot about remembering that time really doesn't matter. We get to where we're going when we're meant to, and not always when we think we're meant to, right? And then it's like that song, you don't always get what you want, you get what you need. Well, this is the same with time. Sometimes we think things are supposed to happen right away, or things are supposed to happen when we say, but there's always a divine order to things, right? So let's just say, for example, that you really want a new job or you want a new relationship. Well, that job has to free up, or that person has to get freed up, or that person has to work through other things, or you have to work through and build different skills in order to qualify for that particular job. So there's so many factors that really come into play when we're wanting to make decisions. And so this is just reminding you as well that while you may feel like you're going against the clock, trust that everything will come to you at the perfect and divine time. Your responsibility is really a lot about being clear about what it is you intend to attract. It's a lot about knowing when you know something that you don't want, knowing what you do want instead. It's a lot about paying attention to your intuition and your emotions as well as you move forward and as you navigate the stream of life, really. So I see you left me a comment. You are not, I think you say you're not a support worker, but you have a knack of being able to be there for people who need to talk or need a bit of your help. You're a magnet for, yeah. So I don't know whether or not you're looking for a career change or you're maybe looking for some different ideas of things you could do. But if that resonates at all with you, that might be something that you look at pursuing. It's also a growing industry, just on a side note. But one of the things I get that spirit also wants to remind you of as well is that when we are taking care of other people, when we are supporting other people, it's also about being really aware that we need to manage our own energy too, clearing it, cutting cords, things like that. All right. So tapping along the heart space to move some of that stuff around is really good. Using things like sage to clear, lavender is good, salt baths, washing your hands with cold water, walking in bare feet, on the grass, that sort of thing can really help. So I hope that you found that helpful. And all right. And I've got some questions here that were submitted to me as well that I really want to answer. So again, this is a little bit of business and spirituality. So I'll just kind of power through some of these questions. If you have a question as well at home, again, I am connecting on Instagram as well as on YouTube and Facebook. So a lot of different platforms. I know some of y'all want to be quiet. That's all good, but feel free to leave a question if you have one. I also want to let you know that coming up next week, I have an event called Soul Deep Discussions. And Soul Deep Discussions, tickets are $44. So just going to say that right away. And it's going to be with me and my dear friend, Candace Planche. And we're going to be talking for 2 hours about different spiritual subjects. And what we're going to be sharing is, about the imposter syndrome. We're going to be talking about navigating life as a soul, but also as a human. Candace is going to do a light healing activation for us. All you get to do is just sit back and relax. It's going to be an environment with other spiritual women. We're not recording it. It's just going to be a really casual, safe environment for you to ask spiritual questions. We're going to be talking about the concepts of 3D, 4D, and 5D. So that's really a lot about the I, the we, and then the oneness. You also don't have to have any spiritual experience if you're new to this subject and you just want to explore, even if you just want to sit back and listen. And one of the things that I do in the Soul Deep Discussions as well is I write down all of the resources that we share, tips and tricks, podcasts, episodes, books, quotes, all that kind of stuff. And then I send you an email as well the following day with all of those resources that you can then use in your own life. So if you are wanting to join me in that and Candace in that, I've got links on my website. I've got link in the bio. It's happening on December 6th at 11 o'clock. And that would be fantastic if you wanted to join for that. Okay, so MJ, I see you'd like a reading. I'll do a little reading for you in a minute. I just want to answer some of these other questions. So someone has said, what are effective ways to balance spirituality and running a successful business? So that's a really good question. So it's actually really funny because for a really long time, I was kind of keeping my spiritual ideas separate from my business persona, I guess you could say. And then last year, I just decided that I needed to be authentic and in line with who I truly am. And that is a soul in a human body that understands energy and manifestation and angels and spirit. Obviously, I can talk to souls as well. And I decided that I really needed to put the two of them together. So effective ways to balance spirituality and running a successful business. I think a lot about balance is a lot about clearing our own energy and being really responsible for how we're showing up in the world. And I think that when we can be really aware that we have energy ourselves, that sometimes we can take on the energy of other people, when we can learn to manage our own energy, it can really help us with showing up and running a successful business. I also think that balancing spirituality and running a successful business comes down to paying attention to the things in our own our own inner guidance. So like our intuition, noticing when things are working and things aren't working. Notice when we have to maybe seek the opinion of somebody else, but then taking their opinion and running it through our own filter to make sure it actually sits well with us. Making sure that we're listening to the flow of our own intuition, because sometimes we go to do things and it's not working, and it's because it's just not the right timing. You need more information. So there's a lot of things that can really come into play when we're dealing with that. So hopefully those are a couple of little tips to help you balance spirituality and running a successful business. I personally, for myself, am running a business that I run some facets of my business that don't really talk about spirituality, just depending on my audience, and some of them that really do. And that really works well with me. So it's just kind of a balance. And I think not one size fits everybody. So thank you. Okay, I've got another question. How can one identify signs from passed over loved ones? Okay, that's a great question. So signs from passed over loved ones can show up to us in a variety of ways. So depending on your psychic abilities or your psychic sort of, I don't want to say like that you don't have all of the senses per se, but a lot of people have maybe a strong psychic sense. And so, for example, there are 4 main ones. There's some other ones too. That involve like smell and taste, but they're really not as common. So the 4 main clairs are your claircognizance, which is clear knowing. That's when we just know stuff. Clairvoyance, which is when we see things, so visions. Clairaudience, which is when we hear things. And then clairsentience, which is when we feel things, okay? So when we're working with our different clairs, many of us have a clair that's sort of stronger than the other ones. And when we can sort of get clear on our clair, which one is sort of stronger, that's probably a big way about how our signs are really going to come in from spirit. That being said, I really find that spirit works a lot with giving us signs based on what we're particularly looking for. So for example, when someone passes, sometimes we might have a little private joke with that person, or we may have a private little thing that we shared with them. So for example, let's pretend that you and a friend had a matching bumblebee sweater, and you grew up together and you were always wearing the bumblebee sweater. And then over the years, you would talk about the bumblebee sweater, and you would send photos of each other wearing the bumblebee sweater and things like that, right? Maybe you get each other a bumblebee pendant for Christmas. I don't know. But so for you and that person, a bumblebee might be, kind of like a thing that really connects the two of you. So what might happen is when that person passes, they might try to send you bumblebees. They might, have a bumblebee that's just hanging around you, not stinging you, but just won't leave you. You may be maybe watching a movie, and then all of a sudden an ad with a bumblebee, or like a bus drives by with a bumblebee on it, or somebody's wearing a bumblebee shirt. So signs can show up from spirit in that way, for example. Signs can also show up from spirit from our passed over loved ones in terms of maybe songs that we play on the radio. So I know I had one of my guests on the Afterlight Podcast, Jamie, and she was talking about how she lost a dear friend, and they had a song that they used to share, or an artist, but she turned on the radio one day and that song was just blasting, and she just knew intuitively, going back to what we've been talking about this entire time, that that was the message from them. One of the things that I see a lot of my clients bring up is they'll go, I've lost my loved one and I'm not getting any signs from them. I'm not getting any information from them at all. I don't see, any signs that they're leaving me. I don't believe that to be true. I think sometimes when we are in grief, that we can't necessarily see the signs because we're not looking for them. We're not really ready to receive them. So it doesn't mean that they weren't there. It just means that maybe we were consumed with the loss of them, and that we weren't necessarily available or looking for a sign from them, like a bumblebee on a random bus in a movie that we're watching, for example. So when we are in grief, it's going to be very difficult, I think, at times. Sometimes, I'm not saying this is the rule, because a lot of people get visitations or dreams or things like that, and those are all signs that can show up. But sometimes what happens is we are grieving, and so we're not able to be present for other things other than sitting with that grief, which is completely okay. So what you can do is, if you're wanting to get a message from a passed over loved one, one of the things that I like to do is I like to say, hey, I would love for you to show up for me today. Can you show me a red rose? Or maybe give them a bigger window than just today. Say, hey, in the next week, can you show me a red rose? And then the big thing with us is that we have to be present enough to witness the rose. And sometimes that's where we get caught up, right? Where our spirit guide or our team or our pastor or loved one or whatever is like trying to give us the rose, but we keep looking in the wrong direction, or we're so preoccupied with our own thoughts that we're not being mindful enough to notice the rose sitting in front of us. So a big part about us being able to identify signs from our past or loved ones is our ability to be able to be present enough to notice them. Okay, so I'm just going to see if any of y'all have any questions. You're welcome, Lucille, for that. Thank you. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Haley, for that. Haley said, thank you, Lauren. It's also spot on and just what I needed to hear. Great advice. That's fantastic. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. Okay, MJ, I'll pull a card for you. And then I'll do one more question. And then I'll probably wrap up for today. But I'm aiming to be back at the exact same time next week and moving forward. I'm going to test this time out just for a little while, and then we'll see whether or not I need to adjust again. All right, MJ. Oh, MJ, you always see white butterflies around me. What does that mean? So white butterflies for me, that's so cool. For me, white is light. It's high frequency energy. It's source energy. So whenever I see anything that's like white and light, it's purity. So that is a reminder for me that I'm really connected. Now, if you are seeing white butterflies around you all the time, that might be showing up by your spirit guide saying to you, hey, MJ, got to get your attention, and they're like, okay, let's send in. It's so funny. I can almost see like your spirit guide. Okay, this is cool. I love that. Thank you. So it's like your spirit guide standing there, right? And then you're in La La Land, walking around doing your thing, because we're always in La La Land. We have to be really present to be mindful, right? And you're doing your thing. And then all of a sudden your spirit guide's like, oh, MJ is about to make a decision. Better send in the white butterflies, send in the white butterflies. And it's kind of like, go. And then the white butterflies, they're like, shoo, they're like going out. And then all of a sudden you're going, oh, I'm surrounded by white butterflies. What was I thinking about? Oh, I can't remember. Oh, look at that. And then all of a sudden you see the sign you've been waiting for. So I don't think it's necessarily always about the thing, like the white butterfly. Sometimes it's just about the recognition that you're getting a consistent sign. For a lot of people, it's like, oh, I always see 111 or 444 or 333. What does it mean? Well, what do you think it means? What are you thinking about when this sign pops up? When you notice the white butterfly, what happens next? Are you all of a sudden really hyper aware? And you go, oh, look, there's this opportunity here. I nearly missed it. Or, whoa, all of a sudden I've just been flooded with a really cool idea. Or, oh, whoops, I almost tripped over that thing right then. So I'd love to know, MJ, whether or not you're connecting with that and yes. So I feel like you're connecting with that message. That's so awesome. So okay. MJ saying, my daughter thinks the white butterfly is her grandpa around us. It could very well be as well. So it's a lot about your own personal experience, right? I don't know how her grandpa's going to show up necessarily, but I know that when we are getting these consistent signs that our spirit teams, our past loved ones are saying, I need you to pay attention. I am trying to get your attention, right? And when we notice them, MJ, that is when we are in the driver's seat of our power. And I feel so much emotion connecting with you. So I feel like maybe there is a lot of validity in the grandpa thing, actually, because I'm feeling like flooded with emotion. I really want to cry a lot. And I feel like I'm hearing like, she's got it. I feel like, okay, I don't know whether or not it's your father, but I'm kind of getting this like finally sort of like action. Like I want to put my hands up in the air and go, finally, like eureka or something like that. Almost like the light bulb's gone on and she's aware. And yeah, it's so awesome. And this is like a lot of energy and a lot of emotion coming through with that particular thing. So, okay, I get that. So one of the things you really want to be cognizant of, again, moving forward, and this is for you at home, whether or not you're getting those white butterflies or whether or not you're getting other signs, numbers, and things like that. Notice what your initial impression is for yourself. If you feel like it's your father or your grandfather, chances are it is, right? That's that claircognizance, that inner knowing. You don't need to justify it to anyone else. When I see a blue bird, I know that's spirit for me. I don't even question it. I don't have to Google it. I don't have to meditate about it. I just know that is truth, right? So notice what you're thinking when these things happen. Notice how when these things come up, there are little markers or little indicators that we're really on the right track. Okay, MJ, I can't even tell you, I feel so much emotion when I'm connecting with your energy. It is just so cool. So I'm just going to look, listen, and feel for a second, pull a card for you. Valerie, I see you, sister. I will pull a card for you as well, and then we'll see how we're doing for time. So I'm just going to look a little bit more. Just going to write down a couple things. So I feel like I have a man here. I'm just going to check in. I would say it's on your, I want to put him as like your father, actually. So I'm going to put him on that side of the family there. Does strike me as being a father, but again, could be your grandfather, but I'm just seeing him really stand behind you. I really like this guy's energy. He's really grounded. He's showing me his hands, makes me feel like he was really good with working with stuff. He's also been showing me jeans. So he feels to me like he's a real casual kind of a guy. He's like a real man's man. That's how I feel. I'm also feeling so much emotion with him and so much love that it's really hard for me to concentrate a little bit. Like I'm just being absolutely flooded. Oh yeah. I feel like I adore, like he adores you. That's really how I feel. Like there's like this really strong connection, just complete unconditional love. Like so proud of you. So proud of like who you are and who you've been becoming. There's like this real connection with that love for you. So much love. He's real, like, I feel like in a way though, he's kind of like not really sure about what's going on here. He's kind of like, I don't know, this is weird, but it's working. I'll just go with it. I'm not going to question it too much. I'm just going to like kind of roll with it. I really want to put like my hands in my pockets as well. And I kind of want to, it's not like I'm slouching, but I'm not really standing up super straight, but kind of like real casual, sort of like that, like kind of waiting for things to sort of happen. I don't know whether or not this resonates with you, but I do want to talk about almost farming. I want to talk about like, I want to talk about cows or something like that, but I want to talk about farming or doing something in that way. So I'm just going to see whether or not that works with you. I feel, so you say, yes, that's my dad. Oh my God. So I'm just going to see whether or not you connect with the farming thing as well. Maybe there's a connection. Sometimes something like farming may be for him, but it may also be sort of like an acknowledgement of somebody else. Maybe there's someone thinking of starting a farm or working on a farm, or there's something like that that's connected as well to this guy. So it's not necessarily that he worked on a farm, but there's a connection there. So you're saying, yes, it resonates. He was a mechanic, hence the hands. Thank you. Thank you. All right, good. Yes, I feel like he's showing me as soon as you said he's a mechanic, I feel like the hands were in the pockets, but then he's like rubbing his hands on his pants, and like his pants are always very dirty, wearing jeans though. All right, MJ, I'm going to put one quick card for you, and then I'm going to move forward to Valerie. All right. All right, so MJ, for you, fishbowl, and this is card number 5. And card number 5 is all about change. It's also middle of the cycle. It's sort of like the middle of the foundation. So it's really a lot about balancing where you are. I get that. It's a lot about taking care of your health, the way you're sleeping, your exercise, those sort of things. But it's also about preparing you for a change that may be coming. So it's about like thinking, allowing yourselves to dream. Maybe there are some new ideas that are going to be presented to you. Watch out for those white butterflies, because I feel like dad is going to be showing you a little bit. I get that. He's like, okay, it's like he's talking about how he's got your back. Okay. He also wants you to know that you can talk to him. Okay, so do that. Remember, you can talk out loud to him. And then when you talk out loud to spirit, you want to then, if you can, be quiet for a minute and see if any impressions come up, right? Now, sometimes clairaudience may not be your strongest skill. For me, it's my strongest. So just notice, maybe a song plays or maybe something else pops up. If nothing pops up right away, that's completely okay. It may show up later in a different way. You may also get flooded by emotion. You may also all of a sudden turn on the radio and something plays. You may open up your phone and there's a message there. So I feel like dad is really going to be assisting you and guiding you. And now that he knows that you're getting the message, I feel like that's going to be really strong for your relationship as well, which is super exciting. He's also talking about showing up in dreams. Has he showed up in your daughter's dreams? I feel like that's also going to be an opportunity for you guys to connect with him as well. Back to the card here, the fishbowl card. One of the things that we sometimes get in the habit of is sort of staying within our own area, staying in our own kind of little bubble, right? And sometimes what we need to do in order to grow and in order to expand and in order to really challenge ourselves in ways, we actually have to kind of step outside of our fishbowl a little bit. We have to kind of emerge. You don't have to jump right out of the water and be like, oh my God, I'm on dry land. You don't have to do that, but maybe put a toe out for a second. Maybe listen to a podcast you don't normally listen to, or read a book you wouldn't normally read, or try a new hobby, or walk a new path and you would normally walk. Listen to your intuition as well to guide you. But a big part about what I think we need to do here on earth is like learn and grow as much as we can. And then coming back to the beginning of our conversation here, the whole theme of today's show is a lot about when we know what we don't want, we know we do want. So as we do that, we dip our toe, we try different things, we're going to find that all of a sudden some things really resonate with us and other things don't. So I feel like your dad is also talking about that he's there with his dad and they're having like beers or something like that. I feel like there's a camaraderie there, a lot of laughter, and a lot of, I want to say taking the piss. I don't know where you are. I live in Australia and that's a common thing here. A lot of joking around, a lot of camaraderie. Then they're there together. I also feel like I want to talk about a dog. There's a dog coming through here. This dog shows to me black dog, but also with some markings like white or tan kind of markings on it. It's like a small sort of dog. I feel like there's a feminine energy with her. And yeah, it's kind of like short haired dog and would shed quite a bit, but I feel like there's something going on there. So I'd love to know whether or not that is making sense for you. Okay, so MJ, you're saying you talk to your dad and he shows up in your dreams and you're working on yourself and self-care. I love that. And you live in New South Wales, so you would understand about taking the piss, and you used to have dogs back home in Peru. All right, well, I'm going to leave you with that. I really hope that you found that that was helpful, and thank you so much for being here. All right, and you're saying that makes a lot of sense. That's awesome. Thank you for taking the time to be with me. Great. All right, Valerie, can you let me know if you are still on? And while I wait for you to respond, I have another question here. So, okay, how can meditation or mindfulness practices benefit someone's business decisions? That's a really, really fabulous question. Thank you for answering that or asking that. Okay, so how can meditation or mindfulness practices benefit someone's business decisions? This is a big one. I feel that as a business owner, as a solo entrepreneur myself, that and an Aries, sometimes what I do is I make really fast, impulsive decisions. Okay. Now, for me on my own journey, again, you really need to discern for yourself what's going to work for you, of course. On my own personal journey, I need to sometimes chill out for a second. I need to maybe sleep on it. I need to maybe not be so reactive, but I also am learning to discern the difference. Sometimes opportunities come up for us and we go, oh, whoa, and we jump right in, like, got to get into that right now. Cannot lose any sleep on it. I just have to move forward with it. And sometimes we may feel that as well, but the immediacy and the need is really not there. And sleeping on it is going to be important. So as we grow in mindfulness, we develop our intuition, we develop our self-awareness. And when we can do that, what that allows us to do is it allows us to make those mindful decisions in the here and the now moment. It allows us to understand and to discern whether or not I need to go ahead and go forward with that now, or whether or not I need to maybe wait on that and sleep on it. Meditation is also really helpful as well. I use meditation sometimes if I'm wanting clarity around an idea, or if I'm not really sure what I need to do next, I can go meditate. We can also tap into other, I'll tell them, we can also tap into other spirit guides and people who have gone before us. So for example, let's say you are a singer, okay? And you really love a particular singer. I can't even think. I wish I hadn't thought. Okay. of a singer who's passed over. I can't think of one right now on the spot because all the singers I'm thinking of are still alive. But let's pretend there's a singer that you really love who's passed over. Maybe you want some vocal techniques. This is totally a little bit out there, but this is exactly what you can do with meditation. You can actually meditate. You can have an intention to connect with that singer, and you can ask them your questions, and then they can assist you and give you some guidance. You can also connect with your spirit guides, your passed over loved ones, all through meditation. This just really is a lot about practicing. If you're not used to meditating, it's a lot about starting to take those quiet moments in your day, like those intentional breaths, being here in the now moments, looking for those white butterflies that we talked about, where you can be reminded that you are here in the now, and that's, spirit does have your back. And so when we can learn to do that, that's going to help us make better business decisions, because when we can practice our mindfulness, our meditation, what that allows us to do as well is it allows us to be a little bit more objective and make better decisions sometimes than just reactive decisions. We can make decisions that are almost from a higher awareness. So as a medium and as a seer, what I do when I'm reading people or doing channeling or whatever, like I'm doing now, I just get the information, But as a human, as Lauren, right, operating my everyday when I'm not working, for example, I'm sometimes in my head over here, right? A little bit of the ego world versus the higher awareness. So when we can learn to tap into the higher awareness more often, it'll really allows us an opportunity to make decisions that are going to guide us, I think, towards who we want to be and where we want to go versus some of the decisions that we might make out of ego. So I hope that question was helpful or was answered well for you. All right, Valerie, you're here. Okay, cool. Valerie, you're welcome, NJ. All right, I'm going to do a little card for Val. Grandma's here. She's so funny. Valerie, I've read for before. She has a French grandmother, and her French grandmother is so funny. And it's like, je vais parler en français là, je vais avec mes mains comme ça, je fais ça encore. It's like she's French, and I feel like she's a very robust grandmother, and she's really like, I don't know why I want to clench my fist and I want to move like this, and I really want to have fun. I want to talk about baking bread. I want to be talking about getting in the kitchen. I want to be making like les biscuits. It's like Christmas is coming up, c'est la saison de manger, tout ça. It's like, oh yeah, she's talking a lot about creating a home. She's saying like, make your home Christmassy, make it beautiful. It's a woman's responsibility to do that, like to take care of things in that way. She's really talking a lot about beautifying your environment. I'm feeling a lot of emotion when I'm connecting with her as well. She's elle est vraiment fierce. Oh my God, I haven't spoken French in so long that my R's are not good, but she's talking about how proud she is of you. She can see all the things that you've been working towards. She can see how resilient and powerful you are. It's like she's saying, I'm claiming you. You're my granddaughter. I'm claiming you. I get that. You're so funny. She's talking about how you got that from her, like her courage and her strength and her dedication. You got that from her. She's very proud of you. I feel like she's like your fairy godmother. She's just taking care of things. It's like if you're walking around and you're like, la, 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 you've got grandma in front of you being like, I'm going to take on anything that is in Val's way, and I'm going to get it out of her way so she can move forward with ease. So she is so funny. Your great grandmother. Okay. Yeah. She is just hilarious. So I feel like that really strong character is coming through. All right, let's see what else we get here. I also want to talk about a cat, a black and a white cat. I'm not sure. It's interesting. I normally don't read for people I know because I sometimes can get in my head a little bit about it. But I'm seeing a black and white cat. It's also a young cat. Almost looks to me more of like a kitten or a young energy there. I want to put it like a 1 or a 2. I want to put it at a female energy for that cat as well. This cat could be coming into your life. Could also be a cat that your great grandmother had in spirit necessarily, but it's a young cat. Black and white really coming through real strong. All right, let me see here. So your card is card number 10, and it's the road less traveled. Here we go. So this is really a lot about Now, Val, I think you just got on the call a little bit late, but if you want to go back to the beginning of this live and listen, we were talking a lot about authenticity and integrity and being brave and showing up authentically for ourselves by making small steps to create big changes. And this card here, it's card number 10, card number 1, right? 1 + 0 is 1. And 1 is about new beginnings, new start, new ideas, new journey. So this is also about the road less traveled. So this is about how sometimes what we have to do is we have to do things that aren't, that are out of the status quo. We have to do things our own way, create our own path, follow our own journey. I feel like there's a balance here that needs to maybe happen. I want to talk about a 4-day work week for you in your main job, which is interesting. They are talking about that. They're also talking about balancing how we really want to make sure we're doing the yin stuff, but also doing the yang stuff. We want to talk about being intentional about what it is you wish to create. Sometimes what we do is when our energy is a little bit scattered all over, we grow things really slowly versus putting all of our effort into doing one thing and doing that well. So that might be something that you want to look at. When we see here as well with this card, it's really interesting. We've got this road going up and it's going around her shoulder. We've got a head path that's sort of going up here in a journey she could take. And we've also got a journey going up to the throat. This for me is a lot about alignment. It's a lot about clearing your chakras, clearing your energy, making sure that you're taking care of all of that. Sometimes when we're in our heads too much, we need to ground. I know you do a lot of yoga, so that would be really helpful. Keep doing that. That's a clear, obvious thing. Because the road less traveled here is also grass and also hay. This is an earth element. Earth is about resources. It's about material. It's a lot about business. It's a lot about kind of the material world that we're living in, but it could also be about taking time to get outside a little bit more. Because we also see a huge emphasis on the head here, it's really a lot about being really intentional about the thoughts that are coming through for you, but discerning them a little bit. Maybe journaling would be really good. When we get a lot of things wrapping around in our mind, we can get sort of lost about what it is we want to do. So when we can ground ourselves, be here in the here and now, we're going to make better decisions. When I say better decisions, I mean there's never a wrong decision, right? Because we're always going to learn from it, or we're just going to move forward where we're meant to go. So it's all good. You don't have to panic about that or worry about that. You at home, listening to this, never worry about making the wrong decision. There is no wrong decision. I strongly believe if we're ever going to do something that's really going to screw us up, something's going to come in the way that's going to really intervene and kind of set us on our path. Anyway, back to the road less traveled. This is about you not being afraid to be who you are. This is about you not being afraid to carve your own path. And Spirit is asking you to tap into the guidance that you're getting from up here, from our crown, and to really see if you can put some of that into practice. So this is a lot about self-reflection for you, but it's a lot about as well about you thinking about who you want to become, feeling into that, and then watching as the decisions that you make take you there. I'm going to put one more card here. So we've got the impossible card, but it's actually I'm possible, which I love. This is card number 18. 1 + 8 is a 9. It's so funny. You get a 1 and a 9. So it's like a beginning, but also an end. So it sort of feels like things are wrapping up. We see that there's a woman here and she's kind of coming through the veil of her mirror, right? She's looking through a mirror, but she's coming out the other side. And what I like about this looking through the mirror is sort of that understanding that the things in our life are mere reflections of what we've been putting out there. But it's also about coming out of that. It's almost as though we're giving ourselves permission to blossom and grow. I feel like this card probably could have been a butterfly as well. It's like that transformation, stepping into into the person that we know ourselves to be, stepping into the person that we want to become, but giving ourselves that permission to do that. I also see elements of forest and earth here. So it's about remaining grounded while I get that while we make these transitions. So Spirit is really talking a lot about making calculated decisions, making small steps to really take you to where you want to be, and also remembering that nothing is impossible. We set limits on ourselves, right? We set those limits. Our ego wants us to play small and go, girl, you're never going to get that. Girl, that's never going to work out. Let's just stay small and not say what we really think and not be powerful. Let's just shut up and do what we're told, and that'll be that. And it's no, we came here to follow our path. We came here to shake things up, and we came here to be supported by other like-minded souls. And so the more that we step into our power, we allow our light to shine, and we allow the light of other people around us to shine just as bright, which is beautiful. So remember, it's not impossible, it's I'm possible. All right. So thank you all very much for being here. Just a friendly reminder that if you are interested, if you are a soul-led entrepreneur, what I mean by that is, your soul is leading you and you're a business owner, or you are working in a business. You want help on your productivity, on knowing how to manage your time, managing your energy. I really want to strongly encourage you to check out my program, the Enlightened Efficiency Program. You get access to me every single month, where I will answer your business and productivity questions. We'll work towards helping you build a really strong future. Plus, you get access to my amazing, powerful productivity courses, which will transform your life. So all the details for that are in the comments, links in my bio as well. Thank you so much for being here, and I will be here next week, same time. Thank you, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye. This episode has been brought to you by me and my business, Lauren Grace Inspirations. I am a channel of the light and work with spirit guides, angels, the higher self, and passed over loved ones to provide you with support, clarity, and encouragement. Using oracle cards, mediumship, and clairvoyance, my readings will leave you feeling comforted and empowered. I have various reading options available, ranging from 30-minute readings to 60-minute readings to group sessions. I also work with professionals to help them gain clarity in business and life purpose. To book a reading with me, simply head to laurengraceinspirations.com.